Hi, everybody. This is Gerard Braud, and welcome to this edition of the Broadcast, where we give you bite-sized bits of best practices to help you be a better leader and a more effective communicator. Because ultimately, we want to help you protect your revenue, reputation, and brand. So it's the first full week of the new year, and I'm going to ask you to stop doing something. My suggestion is that you stop making New Year's resolutions and that you adopt a lifestyle in your personal, but most importantly, your business life of consistency and continuity. You see, when you set resolutions, it means that you've been doing something badly and you're going to try to start doing it well. But it represents stop, start, stop, restart. The most successful people, the most successful businesses are those who work toward continuous improvement. So for this year, as we start this new year and recognize that people are coming back to work for the first time, everybody's back in the office, now is the time to be on a pathway to continuous improvement, not just for this year, but for next year and each year after that. Now, my passion in life is the 5 steps to effective crisis communications. And my offer to you for the year is to help you achieve the continuity and consistency you need for that. So let me tell you how we'll do this. You will be able to focus throughout the year on the 5 steps to effective crisis communications. Let me go over them briefly with the promise that each week we will dig a little deeper. And as the year goes on and new case studies evolve, we'll look at case studies of who does it right, who does it wrong, who could do it better, and which of the 5 steps to effective crisis communications they used well, and which ones they failed to use or failed to use properly. So the 5 steps to effective crisis communications begin with vulnerability assessments, getting everyone together to assess what situations could arise that would smolder or explode into a crisis. And the idea is not to do this just once in life, but maybe once a month with a small group, or certainly at least once a quarter throughout the year and every year. Again, consistency and continuity. Step 2 in the 5 steps to effective crisis communications is to have a living crisis communications plan. If you do not have a plan, I have one that you can implement quickly. If you have a plan, you need to constantly be improving that plan. It has to be a living plan. New techniques arise for communications best practices and new tools. Live wasn't even available a few years ago, but live videos, for example, are a perfect example of why you need to update your crisis communications plan. Consistency and constant improvement. Step 3 in the 5 steps to effective crisis communications would be to have that robust library of pre-written news releases. News releases that instead of writing a news release from scratch when you have a crisis, you already have a document written with fill in the blank and multiple choice and declarative sentences that are lawyer approved, so that on the day of the crisis, you're hitting the delete key on an existing template rather than writing from scratch and going through that horrible approval process where everyone wants to take out the red pens and make edits. But a consistent library means that as new vulnerabilities are discovered, you add those to the library throughout the year. Step 4 in the 5 steps to effective crisis communications is media training, and realizing that this should be done at least once a year to keep your spokespeople sharp. It is not a bucket list item that you do once in life and say, I've done it. It's a skill set, and it's a very difficult skill set. And with anything that is difficult, the more you practice, the better you get. A media interview, when done properly, should add money to the bottom line of your organization, or at least preserve the revenue of that organization. A media interview done poorly damages revenue, reputation, and brand. So not only should your spokespeople go through a training course every year, the trainer needs to step it up, be a little better every year. needs to create more challenging scenarios on an annual basis. And of course, before every media interview, a colleague needs to role play and practice with the spokesperson. Step 5 and the 5 steps to effective crisis communications would be your crisis communications drills. Many organizations are great because they do them once a quarter because some regulatory body requires them to do it. Others never do it. Some do it once a year, regardless of which bucket you fall into. A drill should be done at least once a year, and make sure that those drills have 2 communications elements. Number 1, a difficult and realistic news conference. Repeat that at least twice during the drill. And mock social media posts that simulate the noise that social media creates during a crisis. Many organizations are thrown off base as soon as the crisis starts because media show up or social media explodes and they're not ready for it. If you need help, if you need an accountability buddy, I'm going to offer that service to you. I'll put links on my website and I'll put links on my blog so that if you would like to schedule a free 15-minute phone call with me, you can do that. Let's chat. January, I try to stay close to home and not do a lot of speeches and training courses because the snow generally causes a lot of problems. So now is a good time for us to get together and help you plan your path, not only for this year, but for every year going forward. Because remember, we don't want resolutions, we want consistency and continuity. Ultimately, throughout the year, I hope you don't have a crisis. But should you have a crisis, I want you to know that you have the tools to be prepared to communicate effectively in ways that protect your revenue, your reputation, and the brand of your organization. For the broadcast, I'm Gerard Braud.